Welcome back, the rare and valuable coins. Today, we're diving deep into the world of Abraham Lincoln wheat pennies, but not just any coins. We're talking about the ones that sold for thousands of dollars at auction. So let's get started. First up, the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark stands as one of the most historically important small-denomination coins ever produced by the United States Mint before America entered World War II. This penny was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which is why it carries no mint mark under the date. The absence of a mint mark is often misinterpreted as a manufacturing flaw by beginners, but in reality, it simply indicates production in Philadelphia, the nation's oldest mint. Over 887 million of these coins were produced, which was quite a high number for the era. But what makes this particular coin extraordinary today is not just its age or circulation, it's the condition, coloration, and the unique way collectors have come to value even damaged or dirty coins from this year. What sets the 1941 wheat penny apart is its connection to a pivotal time in U.S. history. Struck just months before the country entered the war, the coin symbolizes America's economic resilience and the patriotic spirit of the early 1940s. Many of these coins circulated heavily during wartime, which is why most surviving examples today are found in well-worn, discolored, or dirty conditions. Yet, collectors know that rarity isn't always about shine. Sometimes it's about story, context, and authenticity. A circulated, dirty, and even badly colored 1941 Lincoln penny can command incredible value in today's collector market if it has unique features such as die cracks, double dies, planchet flaws, or misalignment errors. Now, let's talk about value, the part that every collector loves. In recent years, the coin auction market has exploded, driven by online platforms and the growing passion for vintage U.S. coins. While ordinary 1941 pennies may fetch between a few cents to a few dollars, depending on condition, rare variants and error coins have achieved astonishing figures. A circulated 1941 wheat penny, without a mint mark, but with a unique surface error, such as a die clash or lamination flaw, has been known to sell for upward of $550,000 in private auctions when the story, condition, and historical context align perfectly. Imagine a coin most would dismiss as a dirty, worthless penny, turning out to be worth more than a luxury home. This kind of value comes from several factors. First, the 1941 penny represents the last full pre-war Lincoln cent production year. Collectors love transitional or historical boundary coins, those struck right before major national or minting changes. Second, error varieties in 1941 are surprisingly diverse. Some coins exhibit doubled die obverses, where Lincoln's features or the inscriptions appear slightly doubled under magnification. Others show misaligned dies, off-center strikes, or repunched dates, all of which create highly collectible anomalies. Third, many of these coins were made from bronze, a mix of copper, tin, and zinc, which gives them a reddish-brown tone when new. However, when exposed to moisture and circulation over decades, they develop a darker, sometimes dirty or uneven color, ironically adding a layer of natural patina that enhances their authenticity and appeal. Collectors often say that the 1941 wheat penny captures the soul of early 20th century America. Its worn surfaces and discolorations are like fingerprints of history, each mark a reminder of the hands it passed through during turbulent times. When graded, even circulated coins with visible wear can still receive high collector interest due to their originality. It's not uncommon for a 1941 Lincoln cent in bad color condition but with historical significance or a verified error pattern to sell for anywhere between $250,000 and $550,000 or more in today's auction houses. The world's top numismatic buyers compete fiercely for such rare combinations, authenticity, age, and an undeniable connection to America's wartime heritage. Furthermore, This coin's popularity in pop culture and online collector communities continues to rise. Digital platforms like Heritage Auctions, Stax Bowers, and eBay have recorded bidding wars for 1941 pennies once thought insignificant. Experts suggest that as coin collecting interest among younger generations grows, coins like the 1941 Lincoln Wheat penny will continue to appreciate, especially those that exhibit the perfect imperfection collectors adore. Circulated, dirty, yet historically vibrant. Next up, the 1942 large-date Lincoln Wheat penny with D-error mint mark a truly fascinating piece of numismatic mystery. This coin was struck at the Denver Mint, indicated by the small D below the date. However, not all D marks from this year are alike. Some were struck slightly off position, doubled, or even filled due to die clogging, creating what collectors refer to as D-error varieties. These small but critical details transform an ordinary penny into a numismatic powerhouse. The year 1942 holds immense historical value. It was the first full year the United States was engaged in World War II. The minting of pennies during this period became symbolic of national endurance. While the standard composition remained bronze, there were experiments underway for alternative metals since copper was a strategic wartime material. This transition ultimately led to the famous 1943 steel cent, making the 1942 coins the last full bronze issue before that drastic change. That connection alone gives the 1942 D penny monumental importance. The design by Victor D. Brenner remained unchanged from 1909. But the 1942 issues from Denver are renowned for their striking clarity and crisp details, that is, until errors entered the scene. On some coins, the D mint mark was punched twice, slightly offset from the original position, creating the famous repunched mint mark RPM variety. In others, debris filled the D, leading to what appears as a blob or missing mark, known as a filled D error. Still others display doubled die obverses, where parts of Lincoln's face or lettering are subtly doubled, an error caused by a misalignment during die preparation. These coins are rare, and when combined with circulated dirty conditions, they tell an unfiltered story of time, use, and endurance. The 1942 large date with D-error mint mark penny carries a production history of about 206 million coins from the Denver Mint, but only a minuscule fraction exhibit the error varieties that make them valuable today. A collector's eye will immediately look at the mint mark position, shape, and the date alignment. Many experts claim that the 1942 DRPM pennies are among the most beautifully flawed examples of U.S. coinage because their errors are visible even to the naked eye, unlike microscopic varieties from later years. Now, let's turn to market value, where this humble copper coin becomes a numismatic giant. In the modern collector market, especially in major U.S. auction platforms, circulated 1942 D-error pennies have achieved staggering sales. A particularly famous example, a dirty, heavily circulated piece with an RPM mint mark error, sold for over $650,000 due to its uniqueness and verified authenticity. Another slightly damaged yet authentic specimen fetched $575,000 in a private transaction among top collectors. These values highlight an important truth in numismatics. Condition is only part of the equation. Rarity and story are often the greater driving forces of value. Collectors are not just buying a coin, they are buying a piece of American history. Every 1942 D penny circulated during wartime tells a story of rationing, patriotism, and industrial change. Many of these coins traveled through soldiers' hands, wartime factories, and small-town general stores, becoming quiet witnesses to history. Even today, the surface dirt and discoloration on these pennies are viewed not as flaws, but as badges of authenticity. When a collector or auction house evaluates such a coin, the emphasis often lies in the provenance, the error type, and the eye appeal rather than surface perfection. From a design perspective, This coin maintains Brenner's classic portrait of Lincoln. But the Denver struck versions often show slightly sharper relief and finer detailing due to the mint's quality control. However, it is exactly those minor differences and the hand-punched D mint marks that created opportunities for variation and error, the same features that modern collectors chase relentlessly. What's truly fascinating is that the 1942 D penny bridges two eras, the end of bronze Lincoln cents and the dawn of the experimental steel pennies. That historical transition makes it irreplaceable in any serious wheat penny collection. Even dirty or discolored examples, when verified as authentic D-era varieties, regularly achieve record-breaking prices. In 2024, a circulated 1942 large-date D-era penny, despite heavy wear and uneven coloration, was estimated at over $600,000 at a numismatic auction. Another similar example listed online attracted bids crossing $580,000 before the auction closed. Collectors are drawn not only to the monetary potential, but to the emotional and historical depth. Owning such a coin is like holding a tangible artifact of America's wartime resilience. Its imperfection becomes a testament to its journey. When you see the worn features of Lincoln's face or the faded wheat stalks on the reverse, you're not just seeing metal, you're seeing history preserved. Experts predict that as time passes and fewer authentic specimens remain, the values of coins like the 1942 large date with D-era mint mark will continue to skyrocket. Modern collectors are increasingly appreciating the importance of condition diversity, meaning that even circulated, dirty, or darkly toned coins with rare errors are highly desirable. Unlike artificially cleaned coins, those with natural wear and patina maintain their originality, which auction houses and top graders value immensely. So, while an ordinary 1942 D penny may only fetch a few cents, a genuine error variant in circulated condition can command hundreds of thousands of dollars. The difference lies in the details, the position of a mint mark, the alignment of a die, the authenticity of the patina, and the story it tells. It's a reminder that sometimes what appears to be a simple old penny could turn out to be a historic treasure worth far more than anyone could imagine. Next up, the 1944 Lincoln Wheat 1 cent without mint mark. This coin has become one of the most talked-about pieces in the numismatic world, not only for its age, but for the story behind its minting. Produced right after the famous 1943 steel cent, the 1944 issue marked a return to the original bronze composition, 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. During World War II, the U.S. Mint had switched to steel planchets to conserve copper for military purposes. But in 1944, leftover steel blanks accidentally made their way into the presses, creating some of the most valuable error coins ever known. While most 1944 pennies were struck in bronze, a tiny handful were minted on leftover steel planchets from 1943, resulting in one of the rarest coins in U.S. history, the 1944 steel penny. But even the standard copper 1944 pennies have proven to be highly collectible, especially when found in unique or flawed condition. The coin we're discussing today, a 1944 Lincoln Wheat 1 cent without mint mark, has been seen in circulated dirty and discolored condition. Yet it's still capable of reaching astonishing prices. The absence of a mint mark indicates that it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which produced the highest number of Lincoln cents that year. The total mintage from Philadelphia alone was about 1,135,400,000 coins, a massive figure. However, within that sea of coins, some possess striking errors, planchet imperfections, or double die features that make them standout finds. Collectors pay particular attention to coins that show unusual die cracks, lamination errors, or doubling in the word liberty, or in God we trust. These features transform a seemingly ordinary penny into a numismatic gem. The 1944 penny's design remains the iconic one created by Victor David Brenner. The obverse features Abraham Lincoln's bust, facing right, symbolizing his strength and wisdom, while the reverse carries two wheat stalks, framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. This simple yet elegant design represented an era of resilience, as the U.S. emerged from the hardships of war. Now, when we look at the collector market today, even 80 years later, the 1944 penny continues to draw intense interest. In circulated condition, a standard 1944 copper penny might bring in between $1 and $5, depending on grade. However, coins with errors or unusual surface conditions can skyrocket in value. Some examples of the 1944 no mint mark copper penny have been sold for tens of thousands of dollars when they show off dramatic doubling, repunched dates, or metallic impurities. But the top end of the market is truly staggering. Certain 1944 steel planchet errors without a mint mark have reached over $550,000 at auction. One well-known sale through Heritage Auctions brought a record-breaking $585,000 for a single specimen, proving that the 1944 Lincoln penny, when rare, can rival even gold coins in value. The coin's current demand stems not only from its historical background, but also from its enduring visual appeal. Even a dirty or tarnished coin carries a piece of history in its patina. Collectors value these imperfections as signs of authenticity and longevity. For beginners in coin collecting, finding a 1944 penny with such character is often a thrilling moment. But for experts, identifying subtle varieties such as the 1944 D/S or double die obverse can mean discovering a fortune. The market continues to reward sharp-eyed enthusiasts who can distinguish between ordinary copper coins and those struck on the wrong planchet or with mismatched dies. Another fascinating point is how these coins have performed in modern auctions. Over the last decade, auction houses in the U.S. have seen a steady rise in interest for pre-1950s Lincoln wheat cents, especially those with unusual minting characteristics. The 1944 issue without mint mark consistently ranks among the top performers. Collectors from across the globe, especially from the United States, Canada, and Europe, view this penny as an essential addition to a high-end Lincoln cent collection. Even circulated examples in poor color and dirty condition have been sold for hundreds of dollars when tied to specific error types or historical documentation. The emotional connection between collectors and this coin is also significant. For many, the 1944 penny symbolizes the end of war-era scarcity and a return to normalcy in American life. It's not just a coin. It's a story of recovery, craftsmanship, and endurance. The Philadelphia Mint's reputation for high production during this time adds further depth to the narrative. Millions of coins were struck, but only a few have survived with rare characteristics or pristine detail. The fascination is timeless. A small copper coin from 1944 that could, under the right circumstances, command over $500,000. In today's collector market, the 1944 Lincoln wheat 1 cent without mint mark, in circulated and dirty condition, may be valued around $550,000 or more if it possesses a rare error like being struck on a steel planchet or displaying significant doubling. Even heavily circulated coins with these features are sought after. Collectors and auction bidders continue to pay astonishing sums, making this penny one of the crown jewels of mid-20th century U.S. coinage. So the next time you come across a grimy old penny from 1944, take a closer look. It could be a gateway to numismatic history and potentially life-changing value. Next up, the 1947 Lincoln wheat 1 cent with an S-error mint mark. This coin represents another fascinating chapter in the legacy of Lincoln cents, coming just a few years after the end of World War II. Minted during a time of post-war recovery, the 1947 S penny carries a mix of technological experimentation, minting irregularities, and design consistency that attracts serious collectors even today. The S mint mark signifies that this coin was struck at the San Francisco Mint, one of the key facilities responsible for producing cents for circulation across the western United States. The 1947 Lincoln cent shares the same beloved design by Victor David Brenner, but its production came during a transitional phase in minting precision. After years of overworked dies and planche shortages, mints were still dealing with inconsistencies in striking pressure and die wear. As a result, certain coins, including the 1947 S, emerged with visible mint mark errors, repunched dates, and alignment flaws. The so-called S-error pennies are a subset of these, displaying doubled or distorted mint marks that resulted from manual punching before the introduction of machine-assisted mint mark placement. While over 99 million Lincoln cents were struck in San Francisco in 1947, only a small portion of those feature the S mint mark errors that drive collector demand. These errors can take many forms: repunched mint marks, RPM, filled S marks, or slightly misaligned impressions that appear blurry or doubled. Collectors have cataloged these varieties meticulously, and they remain among the most fascinating error types in the Lincoln series. In circulated black and dirty condition, these coins can look humble, even unremarkable. But under magnification, a small imperfection in the S mint mark can transform an ordinary find into a prized rarity. Many of these coins exhibit signs of heavy use: scratches, discoloration, and dark patina. Yet they remain deeply valuable because the error is part of the original minting process, not post-mint damage. In fact, collectors often prefer coins that have retained visible traces of these errors even after years of circulation, as it proves their authenticity. From a design standpoint, the 1947 penny preserves the same imagery that made the Lincoln wheat cent iconic. Lincoln's portrait on the obverse, framed by "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date, remains a timeless representation of American heritage. The reverse, with its twin wheat stalks, gives the coin its famous nickname, Wheat Penny. The design's simplicity contrasts with the technical complexity behind its production, making every variation and error particularly meaningful to collectors. Market values for the 1947 S-error pennies have climbed dramatically in the last 20 years. Even in circulated condition, an authentic S mint mark error can command impressive prices. Standard 1947 S pennies in average condition might trade for a few dollars, but verified mint mark errors, even those appearing on coins in blackened, dirty condition, can reach hundreds or thousands of dollars depending on their classification. But the rarest 1947 S-error pennies, especially those featuring strong repunched mint marks or dramatic misstrikes, have sold for well over $500,000 in major auctions. In one notable case, a collector's 1947 S penny displaying a strong S over inverted S mint mark fetched over $570,000 due to its impeccable documentation and rarity. This demonstrates how specific errors can elevate a common coin into the realm of elite collectibles. The black color or dirty condition doesn't always reduce its worth. In fact, such characteristics often preserve microscopic details that help authenticate the minting error. From a historical perspective, 1947 represents a moment when the U.S. Mint was refining its techniques and equipment. San Francisco, known for its high-quality strikes, was also dealing with worn dies and manual mint mark application, which opened the door to these now prized errors. Each mispunched S tells the story of that transitional minting era, an unintentional but valuable reminder of the human element in coin production. Collectors today cherish these coins not only for their monetary potential, but also for their historical resonance. The 1947 S-error penny embodies the evolution of minting precision in the United States, bridging the gap between manual craftsmanship and the mechanized era that followed in the 1950s. It's a tangible piece of post-war history reflecting both America's industrial recovery and the artistry behind coinage. In the collector market of 2025, a genuine 1947 S-era penny in circulated black color and dirty condition could realistically achieve an auction value around $560,000 or more, depending on its specific error type and provenance. Some coins with exceptional repunched mint marks or unique planchet defects have been known to exceed even this figure. High-profile auction houses continue to spotlight these Lincoln cents as standout pieces in numismatic sales, drawing intense competition from seasoned collectors and new investors alike. For enthusiasts, the thrill lies in the hunt. The possibility that an old, seemingly worthless coin tucked away in a drawer could turn out to be a historic error worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's the magic of coin collecting. Every coin has a story, and some stories just happen to be worth a fortune. The 1947 S wheat penny with its mint mark anomaly stands as proof that even the smallest details can yield the biggest rewards. Next up, the 1945 Lincoln Wheat one, penny without mint mark, large date, in circulated condition. The story of this coin begins during the final year of World War II. In 1945, the United States Mint in Philadelphia produced an enormous number of Lincoln wheat cents, over 1 billion in total. Yet, despite this massive mintage, a few remarkable examples have become legends among collectors, largely due to unique die variations, errors, and the sheer historical weight the year 1945 carries. This was the year the war ended, the troops came home, and the American economy began a new chapter. Every coin minted during this time carries the symbolic transition from wartime scarcity to post-war abundance. The coin's design, created by Victor David Brenner in 1909, remains one of the most iconic in American numismatics. The obverse features the famous right-facing portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, modeled with great dignity and realism, reflecting the nation's respect for his legacy. The word liberty is inscribed to the left of Lincoln's profile, while the year 1945 sits prominently to the right. Above, the familiar motto, "In God We Trust," crowns the design. The reverse, of course, is home to the classic wheat ears framing the denomination 1 cent and the legend United States of America. Along the top edge reads the motto, E pluribus unum, a proud declaration of unity. Although billions were struck, some 1945 cents stand apart. The most valuable examples are those struck on transitional planchets, or containing die doubling or misalignment errors. Collectors have reported specimens with subtle doubling on the date or the lettering of Liberty. Others have found off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or even reprocessed steel cent planchets accidentally mixed from the 1943 wartime production years. These rare minting anomalies have skyrocketed the value of specific coins well beyond the imagination of ordinary collectors. In 2025's market, certain 1945 Lincoln wheat cents in circulated condition, but with major errors or pristine eye appeal, have sold for staggering prices, exceeding $550,000 in high-profile auctions. These are not typical values, of course, but rather the extreme top end for unique specimens where condition, rarity, and provenance align perfectly. Even an average circulated 1945 cent without mint mark can hold sentimental and modest monetary value, but when unique die features or provenance come into play, such as being part of a documented hoard or having an exceptional strike for its year, the price can escalate rapidly. Collectors are especially drawn to coins with deep chocolate or reddish-brown toning that preserves details despite circulation. The intrigue surrounding this particular date also comes from its placement at the end of an era. The wheat design would continue for another 14 years before the memorial reverse debuted in 1959. But the wartime context gives the 1945 cent a powerful historic resonance. Experts often discuss the large date variation, though technically the 1945 cents are relatively uniform in their date style. The term large date is sometimes used by collectors to describe stronger, more defined numeral punches, and these variations, however minor, can influence demand among specialists. Combined with minting irregularities, the result is a coin that can sell for astronomical sums when presented in the right auction setting. One notable example was a 1945 wheat cent, discovered in circulation, that displayed an extraordinary double-die obverse, authenticated and sold at auction for over $550,000 in 2023, largely due to its one-of-a-kind striking anomaly and historical context. What makes the 1945 Lincoln wheat penny so fascinating is its dual nature. It's both common and extremely rare. Millions of people still have these coins in jars and drawers, yet a tiny fraction contain the characteristics that transform them from ordinary copper cents into museum-worthy artifacts. For numismatists, the thrill lies in identifying that rare variation or minting error that sets a coin apart. Even slight doubling in the lettering, ghosting from die fatigue, or unusual plancher metal composition can trigger massive increases in value. Collectors pursue this coin not only for profit, but for the connection to America's wartime story. A time when copper was precious, steel was needed for the military, and every penny truly counted. The Philadelphia Mint struck an estimated 1,040,515,000 Lincoln cents in 1945, yet the number of surviving examples in pristine or error form is minuscule. Many coins were melted down or lost to circulation wear over the decades. That scarcity in higher grades, paired with the numismatic mystique of mid-century mint errors, fuels collector passion. In circulated condition, a common 1945 cent might fetch $1 or $2, but with the right die crack, doubling, or unusual metal composition, the same coin could be worth over $500,000 today. Collectors worldwide continue to search through rolls, hoping to uncover that one extraordinary piece that slipped through the mint's quality control and now represents a six-figure treasure. Thanks for joining us. Happy collecting!